So thanks once again for dropping by the channel. If you like the content, if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe, share the video if you enjoyed it, if you felt it was useful. As always, let's get into this. So, last night, an announcement came out about Deontay Wilder and changes he's making to his team. Now, he is sticking with, obviously, Shirley Finkel, Al Heyman, that goes without saying, in terms of his training setup. Whereas before it was Mark Breland and Jay Diaz, now it's going to be, apparently it's just going to be exclusively Jay Diaz in the corner, because Mark Breland has now been fired. Fired or split, whichever way you want to word it. We'll say split, just in case anyone from Team Wilder watches this video and takes exception to what I'm saying. So we'll say split from Mark Breland. Now, my thoughts on this, right? In a way, I'm not surprised, because after the Fury fight, there was a lot of rumours about Deontay Wilder splitting with Mark Breland. I think I even done a video of it. I think someone, I'm not sure who it was, I'm not sure whose video it was, but I definitely remember seeing a video where someone said that Deontay Wilder in the aftermath, and I'm talking about in the locker room straight after the fight, said whose idea was to throw in the towel. Mark Breland said it was him, and Deontay Wilder said, allegedly, by the way, that you're fired. Now, obviously, if that was the case, that was in February. We're now in October. It's 8 months later, nearly. So, that we'll take that with a pinch of salt. But in terms of Deontay Wilder splitting with Mark Breland, I don't think any of us are surprised. Now, my initial thoughts on this is Mark Breland is not a bad coach, right? He is very similar to Deontay Wilder in terms of his dimension. Obviously, Deontay was a heavyweight. Mark Breland was an Olympian. He was a world champion at welterweight. Very long for welterweight, like 6'2", very long, lanky. So Mark Breland, similar dimensions. He was a Kronk fighter, which is the kind of, like, if Manny Stewart was alive and he had Deontay Wilder, Manny Stewart would have done, maybe not wonders for Deontay Wilder, but I definitely think he would have been a lot better than he is. So, in terms of a trainer, Mark Breland ain't bad. And, I've never really thought of him as that bad a trainer, to be honest with you. The fact of the matter is, he threw in the towel in that 7th round against Tyson Fury. And obviously, Deontay Wilder and his team took exception to that. I believe, allegedly, Jay Diaz wasn't happy with that. Now, I look at someone like him, and Jay Diaz I'm talking about now. How do I word this? I look at someone like him and I see I see a not particularly nice person. I think that's the best way I'll describe it. Someone who doesn't have Deontay Wilder's best interest at heart. Someone who, well, let's look at Marcellus Wilder. All right, he had Jay Diaz in his corner. I mean, there you go. I mean, he's even worse technique than Deontay Wilder. So he's obviously getting these guys and not really doing anything with them. Just being like, yep, go in and start windmilling. In terms of like straight shots, Deontay Wilder is okay with throwing straight right hands, but I suspect some of that would have come from Mark Breland. Jay Diaz, in terms of not wanting to, look, Deontay Wilder was losing that Tyson Fury fight. He was never going to win that fight. He was taking a beating. Mark Breland done the right thing, which was to throw in that towel. He done 100% the right thing. There is no issue at all with what he did, and I applaud him for it, because most trainers will let their fighter take a terrible beating. Look at Joe Gallagher when Scott Quigg fought John O'Carroll. Look at that fight. Went 11 rounds, right? That was a Scott Quigg who should have retired before that fight. All right, he was getting the crap beat out of him. Joe Gallagher, just casually as you like, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. I applaud trainers who actually put their fighter first and pull the fighter out of a fight that they're not going to win. There's no use taking a beating, a tremendous beating. No use. So, for what Mark Breland did, I applaud him for it. In terms of Wilder, getting rid of him, if he doesn't bring anyone else in, and he just goes with Jay Diaz, and he keeps the team essentially as it is, then I wish him the best of luck in the Tyson Fury fight. I really do. I genuinely do wish him the best of luck. I don't have anything against Deontay Wilder. But in terms of his chances of winning, they weren't exactly, I wasn't giving him much of a chance of winning anyway, but I think they've exponentially dropped having Mark Breland out of there, because they do say if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but if it ain't perfect, keep working on it. That team is not perfect. That team needs serious changes. The one person I would have kept would have been Mark Breland. That would have been Jay Diaz. That would have been Shirley Finkel. It would have been Al Heyman. But what can you do? I mean, you look at Deontay Wilder, look at the way he's been since the loss. When AJ lost, when Dylan White lost, they just came out and accepted it. I mean, we've seen very little from Deontay Wilder over the last few months. We're hearing all these ridiculous, absolutely pathetic at this stage excuses. You know, people in his team spiking him. You know, the suit was too heavy. Glovegate, that absolute, you know, crocker, you know what. Like, how are you going to ever... And to be fair, Wilder's himself's not come out and said it, but even his brothers come out and said that there was people like in the team doing stuff. I mean, how in God's name are you going to go into a rematch trying to win, trying to readjust, when all you're hearing is pathetic excuses? You know, you're going to act like you were in control of that fight, you know, regardless what happened. You know, and then I'm not going to change anything. I mean, it's just, no. So, yeah, I went off a bit there. In terms of Wilder, like, if he was to bring in a new coach, you know, on top of JD's, you know, that might be a good idea. You know, that might do something to help. In terms of coaches, like, Jesus, who would I get in? You know, who would I get in for Deontay Wilder if he was to bring in another trainer, you know, to help him for this Tyson Fury rematch whenever it's happening? It looks like it's going to happen next year. Jesus, I mean, like, this is not a great deal of fighters that are trainers that I would maybe look at. I would actually, to be honest with you, I'd look at Buddy McGurk. Seriously, if I was Deontay Wilder, I'd be getting Buddy McGurk in. That's how I get in. Try and implement what he's done to Kovalev, but in a short space of time. So that's my 2 cents on this. Like I said, people, let me know your thoughts. Leave it in the comment section. What do you think about this? Deontay Wilder splitting from Mark Breland. Leave it in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, of course. If you are new to the channel, smash the like button if you haven't already. As always, people, I will talk to you. Peace.